we're not going to stop making new highs. We are completely repricing these assets for a new world where the dollar is no longer the reserve currency. Gold is going to be the reserve monetary asset, real money. The dollar's days as the reserve are numbered, and the number may not be that large. Silver, of course, is going along with gold, but silver's got a lot of other supply and demand dynamics that are extremely favorable for the price of silver. But again, copper, industrial metals, zinc, nickel, lead, all going up, platinum, palladium, the other precious metals, all on fire, right? Wall Street has no clue. Again, as far as they're concerned, this is a sideshow. It's the main event. They just don't understand what's happening. They don't know what the show is. They're distracted by the sideshow. It's finally happening, but it's happening for precisely the reasons that I said it would happen. Just like what happened with the mortgage market and the financial crisis. I didn't just get lucky. Everything happened the way I said it would happen for the precise reasons that I said it would happen. Now, the only thing I didn't get right to an extent is how long it would take. And obviously, it's taken a lot longer than I would have thought, or I did think more than a decade ago. I expected gold to hit 5,000 over 10 years ago. Now, it's probably going to hit 5,000 this month. But of course, I've adjusted my target now because this problem has gone on for as long as it has, because we've kicked the can down the road for that decade. 5,000 is not my target. We're going to 10,000, we're 20,000. We're going much higher. Had gold gone to 5,000 in 2012, 2013, had we had a dollar crisis and a sovereign debt crisis back then, maybe we could have diffused the situation.
According to Peter Schiff, gold and silver are in a historic breakout Wall Street does not understand. Silver jumped over $5 to above $85, and gold hit a record near $4,600. Schiff says political chaos around the Fed and Trump policies are killing trust in the dollar. He predicts gold at $5,000 soon and much higher as investors flee stocks, bonds, and Bitcoin for real money. Thanks for watching. Give a thumbs up and subscribe to Fine Metals for the latest insights.
Gold and silver mining stocks also had decent days. I think they were up. The GDX, let me take a look. I think it was up 3.5% or so, 3.4%. GDXJ up 3.5%. But that's nothing. Again, these stocks should be up so much more. It's just that investors still don't appreciate the significance of what's happening in gold and silver. They're still much too cautious. They're worried that maybe this is some kind of bubble. They're waiting for the market to drop. Well, while they're waiting for gold and silver prices to come down, they are going to keep going up. Now, at some point, investors are going to have to wake up to this reality and what it means for the earnings of mining stocks. And these mining stocks ultimately are going to have to catch up, and they have a long way to go in the markets anyway, is precious metals, gold and silver. In fact, I did a Schiff gold market wrap on Friday to talk about the big week that the precious metals had. And here we are one day into this week, and it's even bigger. Silver today was the superstar. It closed up $5.30 above $85. 85.14, I think, is about where it settled. And intraday, we almost got to 86. We were above 85.90, which means that silver was up more than $6 on the day. That is a huge move. Again, when I first started buying silver for myself and for clients, silver was under $5 an ounce. Today's move was greater than the entire value of the commodity when I first started to buy it. In fact, I remember when silver got above $5. I remember thinking, oh, this is big. We've broken above $5, right? Now we have, it's going to go higher, And yes, it's now a lot higher, above $85. The prior record before this day the record that silver set a few weeks ago. I think it was maybe the day after Christmas, right? Boxing Day Eve, whenever. I think that's when it happened. Silver got above 83. Didn't quite make it to 84, but it got to 83 and change. That was the record until last night when it broke it, and then it broke it again during our time zone. Same thing with gold. Gold also hit a new record high today. At one point, it was up about $120 an ounce, which dollar-wise, I believe, is the biggest gain ever for gold. Now, it's not the biggest percentage gain, but dollar-wise, it is. I've never seen gold up $120. I've seen it up 100, and that was recently. Prior to this last couple of months, I had never seen that. But now I've seen 120. It didn't close up 120. It closed up about $90, just below 4,600. The high, gold almost got to 4,630, but it closed around 45.98. But the prior high before this was 44.40-ish, right? It was somewhere below 44.50. So we blew through that and set new records. So we closed today not only at record highs in both gold and silver, but we closed above the prior all-time record highs. I was watching this morning, and one of the anchors there mentioned gold. This is the first time she mentioned it, and she said, oh, gold is up a bit today, nothing significant, right? Up a bit. It was up $115 when she said that. That's not a bit. That's a big move. And given that it was the largest dollar move in the history of gold trading, to just dismiss it as saying, well, nothing significant, it is significant. This entire gold rally is significant. The problem is the mainstream financial media and the mainstream financial industry has no clue what it means. Again, to me, it's just like when the subprime market blew up. And I knew the significance of that because I had been anticipating it. I was short. I was telling people to get short. I knew that we had a housing bubble. And I knew the fuel for the bubble was coming from mortgage finance. And I knew that the weakest link in a very weak chain was subprime. And that once subprime cracked, the rest were going to go. But mainstream Wall Street, the Federal Reserve, as clueless as they were to the true state of the U.S. economy, and they didn't appreciate the literal house of cards that had been erected, when subprime cracked, they were like, nothing to worry about. Everything is contained, right? Because they didn't appreciate it. They didn't know what to look for. So they didn't know what just happened. Using the dollar, holding the dollar as a reserve currency, they would have more faith in the independent Fed than knowing that the Fed is controlled by whoever happens to occupy the White House. And as bad as Trump might be, and believe me, Trump would be very, very bad to have his hand on the printing press. But what if AOC becomes president? Or Mandami, or Bernie Sanders, or who knows? Pick your Democratic list. What are they going to do when they control the Fed, right? Because whatever powers Trump has, they go to the next president. It is horrible precedents to set. So you're sitting around and you're holding dollars and you're watching this. You're like, I'm out of here. I got no confidence in this currency. This thing is going to be a train wreck. Like, look what happened, to the Turkish lira, when it becomes political, when you make monetary policy political. It's already political. That's the other irony of this whole thing, is that independence is already a pretense. Yet now we're disclosing that, right? The Fed has never truly been independent. They just pretend. Behind the curtains, it's all political. Everything they do is political. But now it's not pretend anymore. Now it's kind of out front. Everybody now knows it. You can't be in denial of this. And, I was watching on Larry Kudlow's show today, Kudlow discussing this controversy, which rightly made gold go up and silver go up. The dollar should have gone down more. Bonds should have gone down more. They were down, but they weren't down as much as they should have been. But they're discussing. He's got Art Laffer on there and Steve Moore. Now, they're on all the time. None of these guys would criticize Trump for what he's doing. And in fact, they all, to a man, said, yeah, Powell's got to go. Powell's the worst. He's the worst Fed chairman. He's terrible. He's done all this bad stuff. So Trump is right that we got to get rid of this guy. And maybe he's lying about this other stuff. But what they said is what really matters is how bad he is and how he's got to go. Now, look, I am not a big fan of Jerome Powell, although I'm warming up to him a little bit more recently. But no, I'm not a big fan of Powell. But compared to Greenspan, Bernanke, and Yellen, right? Those three, he's less bad than the others for this big move. Now, of course, I don't even think we needed a catalyst. Pretty much every Sunday night, like clockwork, you get a big move up in gold and silver. Now, this is one of the biggest, maybe the biggest. But that's why I'm always telling people, get your orders in. I do these, Schiff Gold Friday market wraps that I say, buy Friday night, buy Saturday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning. We're 24/7 at Schiff Gold. Don't wait till Sunday night because that's when the Chinese wake up and they start buying gold and the price goes up. So we don't even need a catalyst. I mean, the catalysts are already, entrenched in place. So gold and silver are going to go up. But there was some things that happened over the weekend that were particularly bullish for gold. And in fact, they're probably more bullish than was reflected in the market. Certainly in the bond market, in the foreign exchange market, the dollar was down, bonds were down, and stocks were down, but they finished positive, so they shrugged it off. But gold and silver were the primary markets that reacted to the news. But maybe there'll be a delayed reaction, unless, of course, there's damage control and they walk the whole thing back, which they may do. But, the chicken is out of the bag now, or the cat's out of the bag. Our empire, the American empire, survives because the world pays us tribute in the form of these trade deficits they finance and our budget deficits. And, when the world thought they were getting, a good deal, they were getting a stable reserve currency, they were getting the protection of the U.S. military. Now they're getting a debased currency, and the U.S. military is being weaponized against them. It's being held out as a threat. You better play ball and just pray that I'm in a good mood and that I'm feeling a sense of morality, or we're coming after you. We're going to invade you because we've got the biggest, club on the block. So that's another incentive to disarm the United States. And the fastest way to do that is not militarily, but economically, financially. Hit the U.S. where it really hurts, in the pocketbook, in the dollar, crash the dollar, buy gold, buy silver, dump treasuries. That's what's going on. That's what's going to happen. So all this stuff is going on over the weekend. Again, the masses in the mainstream media have no clue what is going on here. I'm telling you what's happening. I don't know now how much longer you have to get your financial house in order, but get it in order you must.